As the largest country in the world by land area, Russia has around 65% of its territory covered by permafrost, making agriculture here one of the harshest challenges on Earth. Yet from a farming system that once seemed locked beneath ice, Russia still generates around 100 billion USD in agricultural value each year, turning extreme cold into an advantage and transforming snow and frost into food. So what is the secret that allows Russia to overcome its brutal climate and become a global agricultural power? In this video, Agriculture Insight will take you across Russia's snow-covered fields where people race against a short growing season, awaken frozen land with giant machines, and turn a harsh climate into an agricultural engine with influence far beyond the country's borders. Let's get started. While around 80% of the world's sugar is produced from sugarcane, most domestic sugar in Russia comes from sugar beet, a temperate crop capable of growing in cold climates, and one that now dominates the Russian sugar industry. In Russia, sugar beets are typically planted in spring and harvested from around September to November, exactly when temperatures begin to plunge. Thick fog covers the fields, and light snow starts appearing across many farming regions. Massive self-propelled harvesters such as Ropa, Homer, and Grim remain the ideal choice for Russia's vast sugar beet fields stretching across thousands of hectares. Their operating principles are not very different from machines used in the United States or Western Europe, capable of cutting leaves, digging up beets, removing soil, and storing up to 30 tons of sugar beets directly inside the machine. The biggest difference lies in power and the ability to operate under harsh weather conditions. On cold, muddy ground, thin snow cover, and during freezing temperatures below -10 degrees Celsius, the machines require powerful engines, strong traction, and heavy-duty cleaning systems capable of removing wet soil, frozen mud, and snow stuck to the beets. The interesting thing is that sugar beet is extremely cold tolerant, so as temperatures drop, it stores even more sugar to help protect itself from freezing. This not only makes the beets sweeter, but also gives them their best quality just as winter begins tightening its grip on the fields. But this also comes with major risks, because once the ground freezes just a few more centimeters deep, machines weighing dozens of tons can start slipping, and the entire harvest can turn into a battle against mud, ice, and freezing snow. That is why in Russia, sugar beet harvesting is not just about speed, but also a race against the weather before the ground freezes solid. After harvesting, heavy-duty trucks quickly transport the sugar beets to industrial-scale sugar factories. There, the beets are unloaded in storage yards, weighed, inspected, cleared of impurities, and washed to remove soil before being sliced into thin strips and sent through extraction, concentration, and crystallization systems to produce refined sugar. Russia's sugar industry is now one of the world's largest sugar beet industries, with factories capable of processing thousands to tens of thousands of tons of beets per day, using advanced automation, diffusion, vacuum evaporation, and centrifugal crystallization technologies. As a result, Russia not only meets most of its domestic sugar demand, but is also gradually expanding exports to many neighboring markets. For most of the world, reindeer are often associated only with Christmas and sleighs racing across snowy skies. But in northern Russia, they are the breath of the Arctic, where tens of thousands of indigenous people still depend on these animals to survive cold that can drop to -40 degrees Celsius. In an environment where winter lasts for months and vegetation almost disappears beneath the snow, reindeer survive by using their wide hooves to dig through the frozen surface in search of lichen, moss, dry grass, and low willow shrubs that still hold nutrients. On reindeer farms, herders do not simply move the animals across natural grazing grounds. They also provide hay during periods when ice and snow become too thick, making the food beneath the surface difficult to reach. From a traditional livelihood, Reindeer have now become a mobile gold mine for winter tourism in the Russian Arctic, where a single sleigh ride can cost 100 to 300 USD. On longer tours in Yamal, the cost can even exceed 1,000 USD for several days living with reindeer herders, showing that these animals are not only valuable for survival, but are also creating a significant source of income. But behind that fairy tale image, reindeer remain a real lifeline for people of the north. Reindeer meat is rich in protein, low in fat, and used for stews, drying, or winter storage. Their milk is produced in small quantities, but it is thick, fatty, and packed with energy. Thanks to their strong pulling power and remarkable cold endurance, reindeer also appear in winter racing festivals, where the races are not only entertainment, but also a way to show the deep bond between humans and reindeer. Russia is not only the world's kingdom of ice, but also the birthplace of some of the planet's most valuable foods. Among them, Siberian pine nuts stand out as a luxury product. Tiny yet extremely expensive, sought after worldwide, and capable of generating more than 1 billion USD each year. When people think of pine nuts, many usually imagine Christmas trees. But Siberian pine nuts come from giant cedar pine trees deep inside the taiga forests, where winter temperatures can drop below -50 degrees Celsius. In the past, harvesters had to climb tree trunks nearly 40 meters tall in freezing winds to collect each pine cone filled with precious pine nuts. But today, massive hydraulic gripping machines are gradually replacing human labor. The steel clamps lock tightly onto the tree trunk, creating violent tremors like a mini earthquake. Within just seconds, thousands of mature pine cones come crashing down onto the ground like hail, where workers are already waiting below to collect them and pack them into sacks. Thanks to these iron arms, the harvesting process has become faster, safer, and far less risky than climbing tree trunks dozens of meters tall in the freezing taiga forest. After harvesting, the giant Siberian pine cones are sent directly into specialized seed extraction machines. Inside, pressing rollers and vibrating mechanisms continuously break apart the hard wooden cones, releasing millions of tiny pine nuts. From there, the nuts are filtered using powerful air fans to remove shell fragments, dry leaves, and impurities, then dried at low temperatures to reduce moisture, prevent mold, and preserve their natural oils. Afterward, they pass through pressure shelling machines that crack the hard outer shell while keeping the delicate kernel inside intact. The kernels are then sorted by optical cameras to remove defective nuts before being vacuum packed for export. Today, Siberian pine nuts commonly sell for 30 to 60 USD per kilogram, making them 2 to 3 times more expensive than many ordinary pine nuts. Thanks to their rich buttery flavor, high natural oil content, and premium value in pesto, confectionery products, and cold-pressed oils. Once a cheap food eaten by prisoners and the poor in Russia, sturgeon caviar has now transformed into the black gold of the ultra-rich, with prices reaching up to 35,000 USD per kilogram, about the same as a Ford F-150 Platinum. In that world of luxury, beluga caviar from the Caspian Sea is considered the most prestigious symbol, famous for its large eggs, smooth buttery flavor, and almost legendary scarcity. But to create those tiny eggs, the process begins with a journey that lasts for many years. First, the healthiest sturgeon are selected to produce high-quality young fish. The eggs are fertilized in clean water, then moved into systems that continuously control oxygen, temperature, and water flow. The young sturgeon are raised through each stage of development before they are strong enough to be moved into large outdoor ponds, where specialized vehicles spread feed along the banks, while farmers monitor each school of fish like a living investment. For many female sturgeon, it can take up to 7 years before they produce their first batch of eggs. This long period of waiting is exactly what makes caviar one of the most luxurious foods on the planet. Once the fish are mature enough to produce eggs, The harvesting stage becomes the true deciding factor in the value of the entire process. The sturgeon are calmed in cold water at 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. Then technicians make a short incision along the lower belly to remove the roe sac. This is an extremely delicate stage because the roe sac is soft and easily damaged. Just one wrong movement can crush the eggs, reduce their shine, and cause an entire batch of caviar to lose value. Immediately after being removed from the fish, the roe sac is handled gently through a steel sieve so each egg separates from the soft membrane. The eggs are then washed with cold water to remove impurities before going through inspection. Only when the entire batch meets quality standards is salt added at an extremely precise ratio. Caviar is often enjoyed with a mother-of-pearl spoon instead of a metal spoon, because even a slight metallic taste can ruin the delicate salty, buttery flavor of each egg. In Russia, this level of refinement is tied to a whole culture of luxury dining. Sturgeon caviar is served with blini, sour cream, chilled vodka, and even appears in premium chocolate. On the Kamchatka Peninsula, one of the most dramatic migrations on Earth takes place every summer, as millions of sockeye salmon surge upstream through powerful currents to return to the place where they were born, turning Russia's icy rivers into a bright red flow of life, predation, and survival. Many people think red salmon are born with their vivid red color, but in reality, young sockeye salmon look fairly ordinary, like many other salmon species. They hatch in cold rivers, grow in the ocean, and accumulate natural pigments from their food. Only when they return to freshwater to spawn do their bodies turn deep red and their heads shift to green, creating a spectacular transformation as if they had become an entirely different fish. Here, the females use their tails to dig nests in the gravel riverbed to lay eggs. The males fertilize them directly in the oxygen-rich water, and after several weeks to several months, the eggs hatch into young fish that survive on their yolk sacs. But the journey home for sockeye salmon has never been a peaceful migration. At Russia's icy waterfalls, as schools of salmon launch themselves out of the rapids to push upstream, brown bears are already waiting like nature's gatekeepers. The moment a fish flashes through the whitewater, they strike with lightning speed, turning the salmon's survival journey into a summer buffet for the entire group. In the wild, only about 1 to 5 out of every 100 salmon survive to adulthood, so the return season is also when humans are waiting. Russian fishermen often intercept the fish near river mouths. When the flesh is still firm, the red color is vibrant, and the roe is highly valuable, using fishing rods, purse seines, gill nets, or guiding traps to catch them. Compared with many ordinary white fish, sockeye salmon stand out for their high protein, omega-3, and natural astaxanthin. That is why the meat is often filleted, frozen, smoked, or used in sushi, while the roe is sent to factories to be cold-washed, separated from the membrane, and salted into ikura, one of the most valuable products made from salmon. Considered one of the most popular spirits in the world, vodka is not only the strong alcoholic breath of Russia, but also dangerously intoxicating, as just a few ice-cold shots can be enough to make inexperienced drinkers at the table surrender to its power. Vodka can be made from many different ingredients: wheat, grapes, or even almost any source of starch or sugar that can be fermented. But among them, potatoes have always been one of the most distinctive raw materials. In Russia, potatoes are usually harvested from late summer to early autumn, before the ground begins to harden from the cold. In the fields, harvesters lift entire rows of soil from underneath, send the potatoes onto vibrating conveyors to separate dirt, stones, and roots, then transfer them into trucks driving alongside. Once the trucks are full, the potatoes are transported to receiving warehouses and piled into large heaps before being sent into processing plants. From there, the potatoes enter the factory, where they are washed, crushed into a liquid mash, and heated to break down the starch. Enzymes are then added to convert it into simple sugars, before the mixture is sent into fermentation tanks, where yeast produces ethanol and CO2. This low-alcohol liquid then passes through multi-stage distillation columns, separating alcohol from water and impurities to reach a very high concentration. Finally, the spirit is filtered, diluted with purified water to around 40%, chilled, and pumped into the bottling line. Bottles are washed, filled with vodka, capped, labeled, checked for sealing, and packed into cartons for shipment. People often say Russians drink vodka like water, but in the past, vodka once dragged society into a serious alcohol addiction crisis, so severe that Russia had to raise taxes, restrict advertising, and tightly control alcohol sales. Spanning an area comparable to Texas, Ukraine's agriculture does not rely on small, family-run farms. Instead, the entire system is organized as a network of agro-holdings, where land, machinery, and data are managed like a large-scale industrial production line. This model is rooted in the convergence of flat terrain and a continental steppe climate. Ukraine's hot, dry summers create ideal conditions for crops to naturally reach low moisture levels right in the field, a factor that can be harsh for many plants, but is perfect for grain production. Across vast fields stretching for tens of kilometers without interruption, high-capacity combine harvesters, reaching up to 600 horsepower, operate continuously like a massive mechanical assembly line. With cutting headers over 12 meters wide, these machines process dozens of crop rows in a single pass, handling thousands of tons of grain per day. Meanwhile, trucks move alongside them, collecting grain in real time without interrupting operations. To sustain this level of efficiency, the entire system is monitored through sensors and real-time yield mapping, allowing instant adjustments across different field zones and keeping losses below 1%. As a result, Ukraine produces around 20 to 25 million tons of wheat each year, maintaining its role as one of the most important breadbaskets for Europe and the Middle East. At the same time, corn, a crop capable of generating nearly twice the biomass, reaches output levels of over 30 million tons, becoming a strategic feed source for the global livestock industry. This is especially critical for China, which at one point relied on Ukraine for more than 80% of its imported corn to sustain its massive pork sector. However, the true strength of this system lies not only in production, but in its ability to control post-harvest flows. All grain is funneled into a vast network of silos, with a total capacity exceeding 55 million tons, functioning as a stabilizing buffer for the global food market. Thanks to this, Ukraine is not forced to sell immediately after harvest. Instead, it can store grain for 12 to 18 months and release supply precisely when market demand peaks. A critical advantage that allows the country not only to produce food, but also to directly influence global prices and supply dynamics. While in the United States, grain, despite being produced at massive scale, is often treated as a base input for downstream industries. In Ukraine, this flow becomes the lifeblood of a billion-dollar sector: poultry farming. With an annual output of over 1.4 million tons of chicken meat, this Eastern European nation has emerged as a key protein supplier to the EU. Despite being nearly 15 times smaller than the US, Ukraine has secured its position as the world's sixth largest poultry exporter. The process begins with designing a precise feeding program tailored to each stage of a chicken's growth. Leveraging its status as the world's leading sunflower oil producer, Ukrainian farms incorporate high-protein sunflower meal and pure vegetable oil into feed formulations. This combination contributes to the chicken's naturally mild sweetness, golden skin, and deep-colored egg yolks, thanks to the high concentration of unsaturated fatty acids. Through optimized feed and fast-growing hybrid breeds, chickens reach their ideal market weight, in just 38 to 42 days, with an exceptionally low feed conversion ratio, a level of efficiency that even many industrial farms in Iowa or Arkansas struggle to match. Notably, nearly every environmental variable, from temperature to airflow, is controlled by centralized computer systems. This automation eliminates up to 95% of human intervention, ensuring maximum biosecurity and consistent production at scale. In the egg production cycle, hens begin laying at around day 140, starting with smaller eggs that gradually increase to premium grades. Each hen can lay up to 1 egg per day, averaging 5 to 6 days per week. At this stage, nutrition must be precisely balanced in terms of energy, protein, and calcium to sustain output and ensure strong shell quality, including grains, oilseed meals, trace minerals, and vitamins. At large-scale farms with up to 1 million industrial hens, daily output can reach 800,000 eggs. In advanced farms, eggs are automatically collected via continuous conveyor systems, moving directly into centralized processing units. Farmers no longer need manual collection, saving up to 70 to 80% in labor costs, while also reducing breakage and cross-contamination. Millions of eggs are gathered daily at grading and packaging facilities. Here, they are sorted by size and quality, then pass along conveyor belts through infrared sensors that detect even the smallest cracks invisible to the naked eye before packaging. Once quality is ensured, eggs are grouped into batches of 6 to 30 units, labeled with digital traceability codes, and then distributed to consumers. So, have you ever wondered why eggs come in different colors? Time's up. The answer lies in genetics. Shell color is determined by pigments produced in the hen's body during egg formation, not by diet. Nutritional value across different shell colors is nearly identical. Beyond eggs, the true industrial power lies in highly automated processing lines operating at speeds of up to 15,000 birds per hour on a single system. After cleaning, carcasses are treated using air-chilled technology instead of traditional ice water immersion. This dry cooling method passes the chicken through tunnels of cold air at -1 to 2 degrees Celsius, a process widely preferred in the EU. It helps preserve protein structure, prevents cross-contamination, and avoids the water absorption typical of conventional chilling methods. Following this, AI-driven systems sort, portion, and package the products for distribution to premium consumer markets worldwide. At this stage, each batch of chicken is assigned a digital identity passport, allowing consumers anywhere in the world to simply scan a QR code and trace exactly which grain batch was used, and even which field in Ukraine the feed originated from. Can you imagine if Ukraine stopped crushing sunflower seeds? 1 out of every 2 bottles of sunflower oil on global supermarket shelves would disappear? With a cultivated area of up to 7 million hectares, equivalent to covering the entire territory of Ireland, Ukraine holds a dominant position, controlling nearly 50% of global export market share. While Russia may compete in raw seed production, Ukraine goes further, transforming these dry seeds into the most widely consumed vegetable oil in Europe, generating over $5 billion in export value each year. When September arrives, vast sunflower fields transform into a non-stop industrial operation. High-capacity combine harvesters run through the night at full speed, moving millions of tons of seeds into storage before early seasonal rains can degrade oil quality. Unlike grain crops, the key difference lies in the specialized sunflower header, equipped with lifting snouts up to 1.5 meters long. Instead of cutting low and consuming the entire plant like wheat or corn, this system gently lifts and isolates only the dried flower heads, minimizing wind disturbance and preventing seed loss. Immediately afterward, the flow of seeds is transferred to trucks moving alongside, via a continuous unloading system, allowing the harvester to operate without stopping and maintain maximum efficiency across the field. With a record oil content of 42 to 45%, each harvest here yields around 20% more oil per unit area compared to competitors in North America or Southern Europe. Immediately after harvest, all seeds are transported to crushing plants within 24 hours to prevent natural oxidation and maintain the lowest possible acid levels. The production process operates as a 100% zero-waste circular system. Seed husks are separated and compressed into biomass pellets, which are then burned in boilers to generate heat and electricity for the entire facility. Following mechanical cold pressing to preserve nutrients, the crude oil is further refined through a multi-stage filtration system, removing impurities without the use of chemical solvents. The result is high oleic sunflower oil, with a smoke point of up to 230 degrees Celsius, demonstrating exceptional heat stability, allowing it to withstand high-temperature cooking without breaking down or releasing harmful compounds. In the U.S. market, Ukrainian sunflower oil often maintains more stable pricing than premium canola or soybean oil, while still competing in the high-end food segment thanks to its purity. While nearly 90% of cooking oil in the U.S. is derived from genetically modified crops, Ukrainian oil stands apart with a 100% non-GMO standard, a key factor enabling it to meet increasingly strict food safety regulations in Europe and other premium markets. Closely tied to the sunflower industry, few people realize that Ukraine is the world's second largest honey exporter, ranking just behind China. With around 4 million bee colonies spread across its vast steppes, the country is not just producing honey, it is operating one of the largest pollination systems on the planet. When sunflowers begin to bloom, thousands of beehives are transported directly into the fields, a highly strategic move. Beyond producing honey, these bee colonies can increase seed yields by up to 20 to 30%, turning each field into a self-contained ecosystem where oil and honey are generated simultaneously within the same biological cycle. At the microscopic level, this mechanism is almost programmed in its precision. A single sunflower is actually composed of thousands of individual florets, each opening for only a brief window of time. Within that narrow window, bees act as biological engineers, transferring pollen from one floret to another with near-perfect accuracy. Each successful contact effectively results in the formation of a fully developed seed, forming the foundation of a multi-billion-dollar sunflower oil industry. Once the honeycombs are fully filled and sealed with wax caps, beekeepers use smoke to calm the colony, carefully remove each frame, and transfer them into centrifugal extractors to spin out the honey. From this point onward, every batch is assigned a digital passport, enabling full traceability from the field of origin to the health status of the bee colonies. This level of transparency is essential for entering demanding markets such as the US and Germany. While the US market continues to struggle with issues like adulterated honey, antibiotic contamination, and fraudulent labeling, Ukraine has built a system in the opposite direction. Each batch is digitally tracked, allowing verification of the entire chain, from flower source and hive conditions to harvesting and processing methods. This combination of traditional, old-world beekeeping practices and modern control systems results in a product with highly distinctive characteristics. Sunflower honey crystallizes within just 3 to 4 weeks, forming a smooth, butter-like texture, a sign of high glucose content and exceptional purity. Compared to multifloral honey, it is typically more affordable, yet more stable, with less seasonal fluctuation, making it especially suitable for the rapidly growing clean label product segment in the US. Recently, thousands of farmers from France, Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands simultaneously drove their massive tractors toward Brussels, creating an unprecedented siege at the very administrative heart of the European Union. Major roads were sealed off by barricades, while security forces resorted to water cannons and tear gas to control the growing anger of the crowd. At the center of the conflict lies the Mercosur trade agreement, under which Brussels is pushing to open the market to millions of tons of beef and agricultural products from South America, with tariffs reduced to nearly zero. Meanwhile, on their home turf, European farmers are bound by the strictest environmental and animal welfare standards in the world. From fertilizer and pesticide limits to emissions reductions and mandatory land use requirements, these rules have driven their production costs 30 to 50% higher than those of foreign competitors. To put it simply, imagine EU farmers as chefs, forced to cook under expensive five-star standards, only to be made to compete with the restaurant across the street, selling the same dish at half the price, because it doesn't have to follow the same rules. And now, let's move straight to the cattle farms of France and Ireland, the epicenter of today's fiercest disputes, yet also one of the greatest sources of pride for the old continent. Unlike the vast million-hectare ranches found in places like Australia or the United States, cattle farming in Europe has never been a game of sheer scale. Although Europe's total herd accounts for less than 10% of the global cattle population, the region still delivers over 12% of the world's premium quality beef. At the core of this system lies a philosophy that seems almost contradictory: working with nature, yet exercising absolute control through technology. Across Europe's fertile temperate grasslands, iconic breeds such as Charolais, with their distinctive white coats, and the muscular Limousin, renowned for their ability to convert grass into lean meat, are allowed to graze freely for at least 8 months each year, maximizing natural forage drawn directly from the land. When winter arrives, the herds are moved into smart livestock barns, where they rest on straw bedding layers up to half a meter thick. This bedding system not only keeps the floors dry, warm, and nearly odor-free, but also significantly reduces animal stress, even when temperatures drop to -10°C. European beef production enforces a strict zero-tolerance policy toward growth hormones and genetically modified feed additives, tools commonly used in the United States to shorten production cycles and maximize industrial efficiency. Instead, supplemental feed consists solely of locally sourced barley and silage corn, ensuring that every cut of beef carrying the European Union label meets consistent standards of structure, marbling, and natural flavor. Beyond that, cattle transport is tightly restricted, capped at 8 hours or 600 kilometers, to prevent stress and panic. Because even a few minutes of acute stress can alter muscle pH levels, instantly downgrading what would have been premium-grade beef into a second-tier product, indistinguishable from meat produced by virtually any standard operation. It is precisely this level of meticulous control that has turned European beef into a luxury benchmark, pushing its export value more than 1/3 higher than that of competing producers in demanding markets such as Japan and across the Arab world. In fact, this standard can be tested directly through steak tartare, France's iconic dish of finely chopped raw beef. Only cuts with stable pH levels, zero growth hormones, and exceptional freshness qualify to be served raw, without any heat treatment, a level of safety and consistency that reflects the extreme discipline behind Europe's beef production system. Accounting for more than 20% of global cheese production, Europe's dominant model is not mega-industrial farms, but mid-sized family operations, typically raising 50 to 300 cows. The three productivity leaders are Germany, France, and Netherlands. As labor costs have surged, reaching up to €35 per hour, the industry has undergone a quiet revolution, replacing manual labor with fully integrated automation. Autonomous, feed-pushing robots repeatedly patrol barn corridors, mixing and delivering hay and silage up to 8 times daily, encouraging cows to move, eat, and maintain healthy circulation. At the same time, overhead automated bedding systems distribute fresh straw, keeping barn floors dry and thermally stable, conditions often compared to a luxury hotel environment. To eliminate heat stress, farmers deploy networks of high-capacity fans that deliver fresh airflow directly to each resting stall. Adjustable nozzles generate air speeds exceeding 3 meters per second, cooling the shoulder and chest areas while expelling harmful ammonia gases. Supported by this meticulously engineered environment, from automatic scratching brushes to stress-free housing, each high-yield dairy cow can produce up to 11,000 liters of milk per year. Once collected by robotic milking systems, fresh milk is transferred directly to industrial processors such as Lactalis, Nestlé, and Danone for advanced processing. This hormone-free milk stream forms the foundation of more than 3,500 distinct European cheeses, from Parmesan wheels used as bank collateral in Italy to the soft, creamy brie that defines French gastronomy. No less formidable than its dairy sector, Europe's vast baking tradition, encompassing over 3,200 types of bread and tens of thousands of artisanal bakeries, has turned the continent into the largest bakery on the planet. In France, the undisputed capital of pastry, a traditional baguette is legally permitted to contain only 4 ingredients: flour, water, salt, and yeast. To satisfy this immense demand for grain, July marks the peak of Europe's wheat harvest, when summer heat naturally reduces kernel moisture to the ideal 14% threshold. At this moment, the continent enters an overwhelming campaign of mechanization. Vast wheat fields stretching across hundreds of hectares are overtaken by mega combine harvesters equipped with cutting headers exceeding 12 meters in width. Thousands of cuts per minute pull wheat heads into the threshing chamber, where high-speed rotating drums use intense centrifugal force to separate grain before funneling it into onboard storage tanks. These machines operate like mobile data centers. Infrared sensor systems continuously scan the harvest, analyzing protein content and gluten levels in real time. Wheat batches exceeding 13% protein are routed toward bread production to achieve the desired chew and structure, while lower protein grain is directed to pastry and confectionery lines that require finer, more delicate textures. Thanks to this precision-driven system, wheat yields across the European Union reach record levels of 8 to 10 tons per hectare. Yet the value chain does not end with premium bread. The remaining wheat stalks are compressed into dense straw bales and returned to farms as bedding for beef and dairy cattle, completing a circular agricultural economy in which virtually nothing drawn from the land is wasted. While crops like tomatoes, bell peppers, and cucumbers can see prices triple whenever greenhouse heat and gas costs spike, cabbage stands out as one of the few European crops that maintains long-term price stability, thanks to open field cultivation and exceptional tolerance to cold and temperature swings. In northern agricultural hubs such as Germany and Poland, white cabbage is grown for up to 180 days, allowing it to accumulate natural sugars and develop massive heads weighing up to 5 kilograms, specifically suited for fermentation industries. Manual labor has largely disappeared. Today, rotary disc harvesters equipped with vision sensors lift and sever each head with precision in under 1 second. This step is critical. It preserves the cabbage's natural wax layer, a prerequisite for long-term cold storage, enabling the crop to overwinter in climate-controlled warehouses for up to 10 months while retaining near harvest crispness. For red cabbage, a closely related variety priced up to 30% higher due to strong demand from the fresh salad market, European farmers apply a more nuanced harvesting strategy. Although the same conveyor-based gripping principle is used, red cabbage harvesters are fitted with softer rubber buffers and reduced belt speeds. This configuration prevents skin damage and cellular pigment bleeding, which would otherwise compromise commercial value. A single machine can process up to 50 tons per day, sufficient to meet the continent's massive demand. However, for produce destined directly for supermarket shelves, Europe favors a different approach: semi-mechanized harvesting. Here, workers operate alongside conveyor systems and tractors, manually selecting and cutting only grade A heads. At the field edge, cabbages meeting strict standards for shape and color are placed directly onto packing conveyors, while the remainder is diverted to processing channels. Although Europe cannot rival China's sheer production volume, its ability to minimize damage rates and extend freshness for up to 10 months allows European farmers to consistently command premium prices and avoid the chronic oversupply crises that plague less controlled agricultural systems. This precision-controlled system allows chickens to reach market weight in just 6 to 7 weeks, achieving optimal feed conversion ratios and sustaining an average annual consumption of 46 kilograms of chicken per American. Beyond domestic supply, nearly 1/4 of Georgia's poultry output is exported worldwide. Mexico remains the largest market, followed by massive shipments of chicken feet to China and low-cost drumstick exports flowing into Southeast Asia. Through this fully closed-loop production system, the poultry industry generates over $4 billion annually, transforming Georgia into an irreplaceable node within the global food security chain. Leaving the hot, humid South behind, we arrive in the frozen Midwest of Minnesota, the leading turkey-producing state in the United States, with more than 40 million birds sent to market each year. The industry here operates on an exceptionally tight logistics system, where massive hatcheries and feed mills are built directly adjacent to farm clusters, eliminating transportation costs and minimizing the risk of supply chain disruptions during the region's brutal winters. This level of control allows Minnesota farmers to raise highly specialized turkey breeds, selectively engineered to concentrate the vast majority of body mass into the breast. However, this extreme growth rate comes at a biological cost. The birds become physically incapable of natural mating, forcing specialists to rely on 100% manual artificial insemination to sustain production. If turkeys are not slaughtered within the strict window of 18 to 20 weeks, their cardiovascular systems will collapse under the weight of muscle mass that far exceeds that of naturally grown birds. To withstand temperatures plunging to 20 degrees Celsius, poultry houses are designed like fully insulated bunkers, operated with negative pressure ventilation systems to control ammonia levels from waste, preventing eye blindness and respiratory burns in the flock. While turkey breast meat is retained domestically to supply America's deep processing food chains, more than 60% of exported thighs and wings are shipped to Mexico. Minnesota also dominates a high-margin niche market by exporting gizzards and internal organs to Europe as raw material for premium pâtés, generating profit margins far beyond conventional meat cuts. This positioning transforms the state into a strategic node, controlling the flow of poultry protein across Latin America and parts of the European Union. Our next stop takes us to California's Central Valley, a region known not only for oranges and wine, but also as the headquarters of the largest dairy industry in the United States, home to more than 1.7 million dairy cows. To sustain nearly 20% of the nation's total milk output, farms here operate under a single overriding priority: surviving an increasingly hostile natural environment. Annual rainfall in the valley falls below 300 millimeters, turning water into a luxury commodity. Dairy operations are forced to compete directly with almond orchards for water rights, with prices swinging as violently as stock markets during peak drought periods. As groundwater reserves are depleted, water is pushed into a fully closed-loop reuse system. It begins with continuous misting systems designed to prevent heat stress and sudden death in cattle, then flows into floor cleaning operations before being redirected straight into irrigation for feed crop fields. This drive for efficiency extends into precision total mixed ration (TMR) feeding, where rations are software calculated to maintain productivity even under severe heat stress. Instead of relying solely on fresh forage, which demands enormous volumes of irrigation water, California dairy cows consume millions of tons of almond hulls and grape pomace sourced from neighboring valleys, transforming agricultural waste into low-cost protein inputs. At the same time, milking operations are fully industrialized through rotary milking systems capable of processing thousands of cows per hour. Each animal wears sensor-equipped collars that track behavior and health in real time, turning every cow into a living data point. This allows farm managers to make predictive, data-driven decisions, from optimizing breeding cycles to detecting disease early, rather than relying on instinct. Powered by this technological foundation, California has become a massive supplier of raw milk for the global milk powder industry, while also dominating the mozzarella cheese segment that feeds international fast food chains. Yet this prosperity faces a critical bottleneck: labor. Up to 90% of the workforce on dairy farms consists of immigrants, primarily from Mexico and Central America. As border policies tighten and the cost of living in California continues to rise, the dairy sector is struggling to maintain the round-the-clock labor required to keep operations running. To offset rising costs, farm owners are increasingly investing in anaerobic digesters, converting manure into renewable natural gas sold back into the state's energy grid. This shift creates a secondary revenue stream that helps preserve profitability, but it also pushes smaller farms toward bankruptcy due to the high capital costs of technology adoption. As a result, power within the dairy industry is becoming ever more concentrated in the hands of a few mega-corporations that now control both food production and energy generation. In Iowa, pigs now outnumber people by a ratio of 8-to-1. With a total herd exceeding 24 million head, the majority of pork produced in the state supplies the domestic U.S. market, while also serving strategic export destinations such as Mexico, Japan, and especially China. To enter a mega operation like Iowa Select Farms, visitors must comply with an uncompromising biosecurity protocol, removing personal clothing and undergoing full decontamination showers. All infection risks are eliminated at the gate because once disease breaches the system, economic losses are measured in millions of dollars per day. Inside, each barn functions with the precision of a modern medical laboratory. To maximize productivity, the production system is divided into strictly separated zones. In breeding units, sows are housed in metal gestation stalls designed to optimize artificial insemination while allowing precise digital tracking of each individual. In farrowing units, specialized protective crates are used, mechanical designs that prevent the sow's natural movements from crushing piglets, ensuring near total survival rates and guaranteed access to colostrum. All waste is managed through slatted flooring systems, keeping the environment dry while physically separating animals from pathogens. This level of precision allows a single facility with 3,000 breeding sows to consistently supply 1,300 piglets per week to satellite finishing farms. Notably, Iowa has completely eliminated antibiotic growth promoters to meet the strict standards of premium markets such as Japan, limiting antibiotic use solely to therapeutic treatment under veterinary supervision. This approach not only addresses animal welfare concerns, but also serves as a passport for Iowa pork to enter the world's most demanding supply chains. Beyond animal husbandry, the most valuable asset of Iowa's model lies in its closed-loop resource cycle. The massive volume of manure generated by hog farms is converted into organic fertilizer for local cornfields. That corn, in turn, flows back into feed rations for the pigs, eliminating intermediary transport costs entirely. At larger operations, methane capture technology goes one step further, converting livestock waste into electricity that feeds the local power grid, pushing the model of circular agriculture to its next evolutionary stage.